Hello, welcome to Beyond the Boundary. My name is Josh. It's fantastic to have you on board yet again. We've got plenty to get through. I've got Nick on my right. How are you, mate?
I'm great, Josh. How are you?
I'll get it out. But no, on my left. How are you, mate?
I'm quite good, Josh. Looking forward to a big week in footy.
Yeah, it's massive. We've got plenty of games.
It's been a massive round been too.
Absolutely.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Our tips?
I'll let you take it away, Josh.
Yeah. 2 in front now. I'm just running away with it.
Letting him get a little bit of a lead. He gets confident and then I'll reel him back in.
How many are behind am I right now, behind the leader?
Oh, like 50. 4. 54.
Well, what am I on now?
108.
And what are you on?
110. Josh is on 112.
Alright, so I'm going to fold and I'm going to reevaluate for season 2015, boys.
You got a tank, are you?
I'm going to tank for draft.
Let's get the first round pick?
Yep, first round pick.
2 reminders this week. First one is that we released our tips 6 p.m. Friday on AFL season information, off-season news. We'll remember to do it this week. We forgot last week.
Yeah, we did.
Yep. The second one is we're going to tip with our honest tips. We're not going to, take risky tips to try and catch each other. We're just going to give our honest assessment.
I don't know about you, but
no, Vinay.
I might have to break that rule, boys.
He's not going to break that rule. We're going to give our honest assessment on who's going to win. Anyway, first match of the round, it's Richmond versus Essendon. Friday night at the MCG. Last time those two teams met, it was Essendon by 15 points.
Fun eventful stadium, boys, haven't we?
We'll start with Richmond.
Start with the Tigers. They're going for 6 in a row all of a sudden, and
The Toigs.
I'll tell you what, they're not out of finals contention.
I reckon they are.
I don't think they are.
You keep telling me this, but I reckon they are.
It is still possible they can. They've got a healthy percentage as well.
Well, they've won 5 in a row, but now we need to look at who those 5 are. So they managed to pants West Coast over at Patterson's.
Pantsed them.
They beat GWS.
Yep.
Who else have they beaten?
St Kilda was there.
Okay.
Port Adelaide was there. And who
Port Adelaide's been
Maybe Carlton, was it?
No, it wasn't Carlton.
Gold Coast? Brisbane. So again, you've got Brisbane, St Kilda, GWS. West Coast to Patterson's alright, but West Coast is not.
Port Adelaide's the big scalp there, obviously.
Port Adelaide is the only one that I would actually say is a respectable win, and even then, the form that they're in currently.
Well, it's the only top 8 side listed.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to take too much away from the Tigers. They're still playing extremely well.
You say that now.
No, but you don't want to because they are playing well.
You can only play who's in front of you.
Exactly. It's not their fault that they're playing these lower teams.
That's the joy they've got.
But what that does tell me is that they're probably going to have a couple of tougher games coming up. And they're going to start on Friday night.
Friday night against us. And they've also got Sydney in the last round as well.
There you go. So
I'm not sure off the top of my head who they got in between, but I know they've got obviously us this week and Sydney in the last round.
You'd think they'd have to win all 4 of their remaining games to be a finals chance.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, if you go into a finals winning 10 straight, you're in good form.
Yeah, which isn't going to happen. Brandon Ellis, very good on the weekend.
Brandon Ellis is just having a fantastic season. He got my Who's Hot this morning.
Yep.
When I posted up. Let me just reel off his last 7 games in terms of disposals. Damien Barrett, MK2 here, just using the iPad this week. But yeah, 34, 27, 29, 32, 36, 35 and 29 disposals.
Some terrific form.
He does not mind getting a bit of the ball.
That is some kind of numbers.
Well, he's a very, very hard runner. That's, I think, his major weapon. He's not. He can be quick.
Works very hard to earn his possessions.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. He's not necessarily an inside ball winner by any means.
Yep.
He's very, very much outside, and he runs extremely hard. He gets ball all over the ground, mainly in that defensive half, I think, around the wing area. But I think the next step in his game is becoming more damaging, adding goals to that tally. If he can get even high 20s and maybe add a couple of goals to that, he becomes he transitions into that Brett Delidio type player.
Well, speaking of
Brett Delidio.
Speaking of Brett Delidio, probably had his best game for the year.
Yep.
We gave him votes for the first time this year in our Player of the Year, so that's...
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not.
The first time in a Richmond game in 19 attempts, 18 attempts.
That's rare with Brett Delidio, isn't it?
First time he's been given votes, he's had...
That's very surprising.
A very below standard year.
Topsy-turvy year.
Yeah, and he's been out with injury, something he hasn't had to deal with for a long time.
But he turned up this week.
He did. He had 31 disposals, 10 marks, 7 inside 50s and 2 goals. He was fantastic.
Very good game for him. Moving on.
Not quite. Richmond have really improved their kicking game.
Yep.
They're transitioning much better. They're moving faster, and that is, I've identified, because they're kicking the ball more often.
Yeah.
They've stopped messing around with the backwards handballs. And here's a stat for you boys: in the last 6 weeks, Dustin Martin, Trent Cotchin, and Brandon Ellis have all been in the top 8 for the most kicks per game in the AFL.
Wow.
So they're kicking far more than they did before.
Yeah.
And I think that's a testament to their mindset. Take risks is what Dimmer Hardwick's telling them.
Yeah. Before we move on to Essendon, boys, just 2 of Richmond's players had 3 or more tackles on the weekend. If that happens on Friday night, I'm very, very confident Essendon will get the win.
Yeah,
Because,
it's not a lot of pressure.
yeah, you don't put pressure on Essendon, they will hurt you.
Well, they're a very, very fast-moving side, aren't they? Unless you can, get those stoppages to move slowly like Sydney do, Essendon will find that outside player and they'll kill you. Yeah,
Speaking of Essendon, they fought hard against the Swans. They lost by 22 points in the end. I thought a real standout was Michael Hurley.
Absolutely. One of his best games of the year, best games for the club.
Yeah, but I was going to say best games for the club, yeah.
Yeah, I go as far as saying, he was absolutely phenomenal. Held down that defensive end pretty well.
They just can't make up their mind who they want down back, who they want down forward.
Yes, they can.
Well, Hurley took about 4 marks inside 50, so...
And he kicked a goal.
He kicked one.
And he kicked a goal
He
too.
kicked one. He had some great marks inside 50 later in the game.
He only had one.
He had some great marks inside 50 later in the game. There was multiple.
There was one.
Boys,
Talking
talking about
this up, I'm going to put the stat down the bottom.
Good.
There was more than one.
Speaking of bombers that are performing,
Yes.
this man has had at least 4 games in a row where if he'd played like this for the earlier part of the season, he'd be in All-Australian contention.
Yeah.
Well,
Paddy Ryder.
That's the thing. I think it's been his most consistent year.
Yeah.
Since
We are
he
talking
began.
about Patrick Ryder, by the way. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, we did say that.
Oh, did we? I said halfway.
You said it yourself.
Go ahead.
Even though Mike Pike had a very good game and was probably the best ruckman on the ground, Patrick Ryder was absolutely phenomenal as well.
Oh, he was.
like
Well, he had 15 disposals, 28 hitouts, and he kicked 2 goals too. So that could have very easily been 4 goals.
And he got a very high credit from Matthew Lloyd, saying he has the best kicking action at goal that he's ever seen.
Wow, ever seen any forward as well.
Yes.
Wow. Well, that's a big compliment. Here's another big compliment, not coming from Lloydie, but from his opposition ruckman. Paddy Ryder gets more free kicks as a ruckman than any other ruckman. And what that tells me is that the ruckman that come up against him realise that he's got a very good vertical leap, and they often block him or try and prevent him, and that's why they're giving away these free kicks.
Yeah.
So he's a deadly, deadly customer, Patrick Ryder.
One thing that does concern me going into the game against Richmond, Alex Rance is obviously a very good defender. He's a Monty to take Jake Carlisle, who's in a bit of a Monty to even take Jake Carlisle, but even Jake Carlisle's in doubt to play this week. Patrick Ambrose already out.
Maybe Michael Hurley will play forward this week.
Maybe he will.
Maybe Orazio Fantasia will make his debut.
no.
Joe Danaher is also out, so that forward structure of talls is in disarray.
Who's going to play? Who's coming in?
Well, I had a look at it, and Kyle Hardingham seems the logistical choice. He's not a tall forward, but he's got a terrific. He's got a terrific leap and can provide a bit of an X factor.
You're making me question my tip here, Josh.
You might. I think maybe Corey Delolio would have to be started on the ground, obviously not as a sub.
Yeah, obviously we're going to go pretty small.
Yeah. You'd have to. Yeah.
Chapman will probably play forward.
Yep.
As you said, Delolio might play forward. Winleap may swing back forward as well. So,
Which could work. It's not. It's
could
not
work.
Carlton had their forward line do it for I think 3 years.
yeah, well, that's it.
So why can't Essendon do it for one game?
That's exactly right. But the other one I did come up with, he has been playing down forward for the majority of the year in the VFL, and that's Tate Pearce. So,
Okay.
he's a tall body. He takes the
Got
ball
a good
well.
pair of hands, does he?
And even so, you said Michael Hurley, he can come in and play a defensive role as well.
What about the young man Ariel Steinberg? Will we see?
He's a defender. He was trialled up forward, but has played all year in defence. So can't see him coming into the side.
Just the last word on that topic. Belchambers played VFL on the weekend.
No, he played AFL.
He played AFL.
I was telling you about this. He had 3 disposals the entire game.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got a fair bit of stick from his own red and black supporters, except you, Josh. You defended him.
I did.
However, my point here is, are they likely to play one of the 2 ruckmen?
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. So
Down forward.
60 to 80% forward.
Well, Belchambers is actually quite a good forward from
he is.
what I've seen. Yeah, so
Because we
But
ask
to
who
be
they,
honest, I'd rather Belchambers in the ruck and Ryder.
Right.
yeah, we ask who they're going to play forward. It's not just going to be the smalls. They are going to have a tall target down there.
Yes.
Yeah. Who are we tipping this week, boys?
Just too much on the line for my boys.
Yep.
Richmond do have the wood on us in the second half of the year.
Okay.
In previous years, we've played each other twice, and they've always won the second game of the year. That's just something I've
Clutching
analysed.
at straws for stats there.
I am. But just too much on the line for us. I think Essendon by 16.
Yep, I'd agree with you, Josh. Essendon were actually decent against Sydney.
Yeah.
They probably didn't deserve to win, but if they'd taken their chance, it would have been a much closer game. So I reckon Essendon should get this done comfortably by about 4 goals.
Just quickly, I remember what you said the last time Richmond and Essendon played.
What did I say?
Richmond quite comfortably, I believe it
Richmond
was.
quite comfortably.
That Essendon had no
remember
chance.
this.
Essendon was a
remember
laughable
this.
joke. That,
Yes,
that
I did say that. I did. You know
They
that
picked a good
I
week to turn
shy
their
away
form
from what
around.
I've said. You know that.
We
I
have
did say that.
we
yes.
have already.
Look, Essendon is still a laughable joke, just not in this.
Go back to round 11.
I'm kidding.
Be on the boundary if you
All
want
the
to.
Essendon supporters, it's just a joke. Yeah.
Essendon by 10
Like
points. GWS versus North Melbourne, Saturday afternoon at Star Trek Oval up in Canberra. North have won the only 3 encounters between these two sides. North by 86 points last time they met, boys.
Quick apologies. Nathan Foley plays game 150. Matt Thomas plays game 100.
Good on you, Nathan.
Not on the ball there, but...
GWS, as we just spoke about, they lost to Richmond by 27 points on the weekend. No huge standouts in the game there.
No, not really. It was a pretty standard kind of game. I think we all knew that GWS weren't going to get blown out of the park.
Yeah.
They stood up and they gave a decent performance, which they've been doing quite a lot this year. I think last year they got blown out of the park quite a bit, and this year they've steadily reduced the margins by which they lose.
They have still been whacked out of the park a little bit this year,
now
not as much as they
exactly. Yeah.
Half their midfield's on the injury list at the moment. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is, and it's scary to think that when they have a full, probably full strength side, it'd be really good to watch them play. But Jonathan Patton was very good on the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. What I've noticed between Jonathan Patton and Tom Boyd, they've kicked 8 goals between them in the last 2 weeks. So they're just starting to gel really nicely.
Yeah, starting to work each other out.
Good to get some consistent games to Tom Boyd in his first year.
Absolutely. And he had Alex Ransom company on the weekend, so not easy.
Oh, for a first year kid, that's a
absolutely
bloody, yeah.
So one other kid I did look at, he plays his 50th game this week. Is Toby Green. We spoke about him a couple of weeks ago. We were very critical of him. Give
him a roast. We gave him a praise the next week when he came in and had a good performance.
Well, that's it. I mean, he had 27 disposals on the weekend, and he's really picked up his disposal efficiency.
Yes.
He's using the ball very, very well. So he also had 10 tackles on the weekend.
Well, it's almost Toby Green reborn. Since that incident, coming back from the incident, he had his first game where he had 14 disposals. That was just his coming back game. And since then, he's had 31 disposals, 34, and now 27 with 10 tackles.
Carbon copy of the Tom Lubatore situation, which we compared to earlier in the year, where he's come back, really put the foot down, said, I'm not going to let this incident disrupt my career. I'm going to show the coaches I deserve my spot on the side, and could be a future star of the competition.
Well, it's a great credit to him because, as he said, you look back on Tom Liberatore, he's had to earn the respect back.
You almost forget now. It's only when we bring it up in this situation that you remember that he had that huge incident that really disrupted his season. And he's come back from it in such good form now, and he's now regarded as one of the best midfielders.
Well, that midfield's going to be crazy in a couple of years. They've got Dylan Shield, Lockie Whitfield, Joshua Kelly, Stephen Caniglio.
If they can hold on to
it. If they can hold on. But Toby Green, oh my goodness. Adam Trelaw.
Callum Ward-Irvin's only 25.
Callum Ward, they've got an absolute... Oh, it's an unbelievable...
Before we move on to North Melbourne, boys, I thought Phil Davis was also fantastic as well.
He was good.
Kept Jake Rewald, who kicked 11 the last time these two teams met, to just one goal on the weekend. So he was absolutely super.
North Melbourne, they lost to my boys Geelong by 32 points in the weekend. Tried hard early in the game, but were sort of pushed out of it in the second half.
They just didn't look like North Melbourne to me. I tipped them because...
The inconsistent best that they are.
I tipped them because I thought that North tend to play a much better brand of footy against better sides. They play far more attacking and all that kind of thing, especially at Etihad. But they didn't seem to run and carry as much. Geelong just outran them. And Geelong, they played well in the sense that whenever North looked like they were going to come back, Geelong said, oh, no, you don't. Pushed them back by a couple of goals. So North they didn't really seem very disciplined. Brent Harvey and Lindsay Thomas. And
I know you'll laugh at me for saying this, and the viewers probably will as well. No, but I do think it was more of a credit to Geelong than North Melbourne playing poorly.
Of course.
We said in the preview, I said in the preview that we know North Melbourne like to run and spread. They've hurt Geelong in the past doing that. Geelong, every time North were threatened to get a run on, Geelong would just hold up the footy and really slow the game down, control it, and North Melbourne just had no answer.
We will look at that in the Geelong preview. We'll stick with that.
That's a fair one for now. But Todd Goldstein, Nick, I thought he was one of the better players on the ground.
He was really good,
I probably thought at the time with Dawson Simpson as the late in that he probably would dominate. Dawson Simpson has been in and out of the side and hasn't really got any fluency in his game at AFL level. So I thought Todd Goldstein really took full advantage of that.
Well, Goldstein was coming up against a very good tap ruckman. I think that it was a pretty even battle in the end, but Tom Goldstein, obviously, as he always does, did a lot around the ground, which really showed him as the dominant ruckman in the contest there,
Aaron Mallet, boys.
Oh, my goodness. I was talking about him before the show. I think he had... How many did he have on the weekend, Josh?
He had 7 disposals.
Well, he plays predominantly around that midfield area, doesn't he?
Midfield
rotates through, So, Trent Dumont, somebody please get this kid into the first. It's unbelievable. What does he have to do to buy a game? He was a second round draft pick, wasn't he? His pick, but he had 38 disposals and 3 goals on the weekend. And this is not the first time he's done it. If you go through his VFL statistics, he's absolutely torn it up. He's had at least 3 best on grounds, and yet he's not made a debut, which is really disappointing to see because you're seeing lesser players get their debuts at better clubs. You're seeing guys like Billy Hartung.
Yeah.
And, you know...
Alex Woodward.
You're seeing players that probably aren't as, you know, potentially deadly or doing that well in their VFL teams, getting a good run in their AFL side. So, Brad Scott really needs to...
It's frustrating because Mullet was terrific last year.
He was,
He was prolific off half-back, that booming left foot kick. He was getting forward, kicking goals. He was absolutely magnificant last year.
It's like their own Matty Sapling, kind of.
Absolutely, and he's fallen off the perch.
Guys, who are we tipping this week?
Far too important for North Melbourne.
Definitely.
They're back in the pack now with the teams on 40 points. Had a chance to...
They could actually drop out of the top 8 this week if they were to lose.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't think they'll lose, though. They'll win by 78.
Oh, wow. 78.
Josh goes whack, whack, whack.
They like to play the GWS Giants. They have got a very healthy record against
86 points last time. Vinay?
I think North will get it done. Too much on the line. Same with Essendon. I think they'll probably get it done by about 54 points, boys.
Yep. Open shot case for North Melbourne here are 45 points. Next game of the round, it's Carlton versus Gold Coast, Saturday afternoon at Etihad Stadium. Last time these two teams played, it was the Blues by 43 points, boys. We will start with Carlton, who came very, very close to beating the Dockers. They lost by 5 points. Cameron Wood might have copped a bit of stick for that kick late in the game.
I feel bad for Carlton here because they probably deserve to win.
You two both laughed at me last week when I said they had a chance.
It was Cameron Wood who gifted them the win.
Yes, it was. Yes.
I won't. No, he didn't gift them the win.
All right, look. We won't get into semantics here. Cameron Wood. It wasn't only his fault that they lost.
Yeah,
but. Had he not turned around at the top of the goal square and sent a limp 20-metre drop punt down the line,
they would have won.
They would have won. That's what we're trying to say. So, but getting into the actual nitty-gritty of the game, I thought Carlton deserved to win that game. Yeah. They ran much better for Fremantle, who did not look like the same Fremantle we've seen for a while.
We'll talk about Fremantle later, and I've got a lot to say about it.
And Ross Lyon, he was frustrated. Carlton's run was spectacular. Cade Simpson
was great. Took the words out of my mouth. Yeah.
Cade Simpson was probably best on ground as of three-quarter time. If it wasn't for Nathan Five's out of sight last quarter, he would have easily had it wrapped up and gone home with his best on ground.
Well, let's just be clear. Nathan Fife did have a complete four-quarter performance.
He did, but his last quarter
just... Yeah.
He was on, 17 disposals at the start of the last quarter, and he finished up with, I think, 27. 8 of those were contested. 28, and he went nuts in that final term.
Absolutely. Dale Thomas, boys. We've been pretty critical of him on this show. Probably his best game for the week.
I'd agree.
For the club on the weekend. He had 29 disposals. 24 of those were kicks, which is great to see because he's playing some of his running football, which is why they recruited him.
Exactly, yeah. And I think one more thing that needs to be said is that Carlton, their loss, you can put it down to one thing. Missed chances.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Definitely David Allard missed 2. One was out on the full. He could have definitely scored off it.
Yeah.
There's one thing I did want to bring up for Carlton. There was a couple of pieces of play later on in the game, and it was just the 1%ers, which I haven't seen from them in the past, which is what we love about the football. You know, those desperate last efforts after you've lost the contest to just bring it back to a 50-50 ball. There was Casbolt, Wood, and Waite. Big men. All chasing and running down, some great tackles early on. Just those little tap-ons. Very good piece of play I noticed late in the game, which was all credit to Carlton there.
Absolutely. I'd agree with that. I just think that I can think of 3 wasted chances off the top of my head. David Allard, I think 30 metres out on an angle. Twice from both angles. One was out on the full, the other was very narrow behind, in the sense that narrow, not close to goal, but close to being out on the full again. The third was Mark Murphy. Now, I don't like to be critical of Mark Murphy because he's had an excellent year and he was probably one of the reasons they came so close to winning on the weekend. But there was that time where he took the mark, I think it was about 35 metres out on a difficulty angle. Chris Yarran running towards the goal square. All he had to do was put it in front of Yarran, and he's put a little too much sauce on the pie, and it's just gone straight over his head and gone through for a behind.
Ruined the pie.
Gold Coast boys.
Hurts if you're a Carlton fan.
Yeah.
Defeated St Kilda by 53 points.
Much to my dismay.
Their first ever win without Gary Ablett in the side.
May not seem much.
But it's a big step for them.
Absolutely. I'm giving a heap of confidence.
Thinking that they've been in the competition for 3 years now, they haven't had a win without their captain in the side.
Is it coincidence that Michael Riscatelli came into the side, a senior head?
We spoke about this last week, that he was missing as well as Ablett. They were really lacking leadership. That could have been an aspect there. I'd agree with that.
Perhaps, yeah. And St Kilda were, let's get one thing straight. St Kilda were right in the hunt at halftime. They were behind by 7 points.
Conquest have blown them out of the water.
They had all the momentum, St Kilda. They kicked, I think, the last 3 goals of that second quarter. Start of the third quarter, I'm not sure what happened at halftime for St Kilda, but Gold Coast kicked the first 3 unanswered within 3 minutes. within 3 minutes, and it was just an absolute blowout.
We must sound like a broken record here, but Dion Prestia was great on the weekend, wasn't he?
31 disposals.
He's had a lean couple of weeks, but
he
had 31 disposals on the weekend, 6 clearances, was just absolutely fantastic. Led from the front, so...
Real breakout year for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shane Savage had another good game for the Saints.
We'll talk about that.
Talk about that later, maybe.
Oh, sorry.
And Tom Lynch was great as well.
Tom Lynch kicked 4 goals as well. I think he's leading their goal kicking this year.
Okay.
He's had a terrific year as well. Love the work of Jesse Lonergan as well. He's had an injury interrupted couple of years. He was drafted 2 years ago now. He only had 16 possessions, but half of those were contested. He's just a contested ball.
Well, they've really rated him, Jesse Lonergan. And in fact, last year he did a lot of work with that man, guess who? Gary Ablett in the preseason. So they must really see something in the young Jesse if they're going to go to that length for him.
Jack Martin also had his best game for the club as well.
Yeah,
started really well, but as a first year player, he tailed off a little bit.
How much did he end up with?
17 disposals.
Okay.
So as usual for a first year player, tailed away a bit. But he was very good.
Big game at Etihad Stadium, boys. Who's going to win?
I think Carlton.
Yep.
Even though they lost last week, they're playing some pretty good footy at the moment. They won against North Melbourne a couple of weeks ago. We're very good against Fremantle. I think they'll get the job done by 10 points.
I think Carlton's a certainty, boys.
Certainty.
Definitely.
Hold up the certainty.
Hold up the certainty.
Yeah, I think they're an absolute certainty to win this. Their footy has been exceptional the past few weeks, to be honest. They took it right up to Hawthorn. People have forgotten that, and Geelong, they should have won against Geelong.
Yeah, it came pretty close.
They ended up losing that one, and then they should have beat Freo, and they lost that one. So they're going to be seething. And they did beat North a couple of, I think, last week. So this
Thanks,
one...
Echo.
So they should definitely beat Gold
I
Coast.
think he reckons they're going to win. How many points?
Carlton will win by about 30 points.
Will they?
Yes.
I think Carlton will win by 29 points.
Rory Thompson plays his 50th game as well.
Gee, thanks, Nick.
Good luck to him.
Tip him by 30, tips him by 29.
I think it'll be a bit closer than that, I think. Hawthorn versus Melbourne. It's Saturday afternoon at the MCG. Last time those two teams played, it was Hawthorn by 95 points, if you don't mind. Hawthorn have won the last 10 encounters between these two sides.
10?
We will start with the Hawks, who defeated the Western Bulldogs by 62 points on the weekend. Raphael, I think he kicked 6.
He did.
Yep, very good.
Phenomenal.
Oh, it was exceptional.
What can you say?
They're hitting their straps at the right time of the season.
And it's scary to watch, isn't it, if you're an opposition supporter?
Absolutely. I mean, they're coming up against the Demons this week. We'll get into the Demons in a sec, but this could be just another healthy percentage boost, I think.
Oh, yeah. Hawthorn, they were exceptional on the weekend. Brendan McCartney came out during the week and said that Hawthorn, at the moment, played the best game he's ever seen or something like that.
After the game.
Yeah. So that is unbelievable raps from an opposition coach.
Absolutely.
Jordan Lewis has been great this season.
We said it a couple of weeks ago, it may have even been last week, but he's a future captain of this club.
Yeah, it was last week, yeah.
He and one other bloke by the name of Liam Shields are the two front runners for the next captaincy, I feel.
Okay.
Liam Shields is flying under the radar of every single club in the competition. He had another 28 disposals on the weekend. Was absolutely sublime. He plays his role better than most at that football club.
He does, yeah. Jordan Lewis, he was superb as well. I think he had plenty of his own ball, and he also tagged Tom Liberatore at stoppages and kept Tom to 23 disposals.
And Echo down the end.
And Liberatore had to work with, I think, 7 tackles and 6 clearances, so he had to really earn his ball. But yeah, they were extremely good, I thought. Hawthorn, Matty Suckling.
I was going to say your favourite Vinay, Suckling Pig.
One of my favourite players, Suckling Pig. I do love him. He had 28 disposals and 22 of those were kicks.
Yeah.
And, he's one of the probably...
Decent strike rate, though.
In my book, he's the deadliest kick in the AFL.
Well, what did I don't mean to wobble the head here, but what did I say 2 weeks ago against Sydney?
They would
something
need to
that
tag
happened on
Birchall, Suckling and Sam Mitchell. But you did mention Suckling first.
Thank you.
Yes.
If you don't shut Suckling and Birchall in particular out of the game, you're going to have a very bad day.
And both of them chopped up the Western
and 55 disposals between
them. Yep. So they had an absolute field day.
Yep.
I'm going to put that order in for the Josh Rickard bobblehead this week, I reckon. We'll get that on the show. I can just give it a little wobble.
And every time you see, you just bobble.
Just wobble.
But Jared Ruffhead, guys, he's back to his damaging best.
Sneaky chance for the Coleman.
He is, and he's got Melbourne this week, so, you can't count anything out.
Well, Hawthorn, I've said this before, but they love putting sides to the sword. They've done it this week against the Western Bulldogs, who they beat by 62 points. They're coming up against Melbourne. It's at the MCG. I can smell a big, big win coming for them.
And didn't the Demons just let it go?
Yeah, well, speaking of the Demons, boys, they've scored just 25 goals in the last 4 weeks.
In comparison, Adelaide, I think, has kicked...
64 in the same time. GWS even has 38. Thanks to Sam Landsberger for that little stat.
I don't want to say it, but
Oh, no.
watching Melbourne on the weekend kicking for goal, it's like they were trying to miss. That's what it looked like.
Oh, that's a big,
What are you
call.
floating? What are you floating?
That is a big
Damn straight I'm
whack.
floating that.
The Twitter sphere is blowing up as we speak, Nick Guy. Somebody has just accused the Melbourne Football Club of, dare I say the T word, Josh?
It's not to be mentioned on this show.
Oh, I won't say it.
When you see a player coming in on, almost directly in front, he's 25, 30 metres out, and he almost hits the behind post with it, you just got to wonder. Because it happened multiple times.
I think the Melbourne Football Club is a proud establishment.
You see
would love to think that Paul Roos does not
Chris
encourage
Dawes
that.
in the goal square. Players are just missing left, right, and centre, and the correct option is Chris Dawes. Chip it over the top, easy hand pass, kick, whatever you like, and he's almost put it out on the full.
Look, who knows? You'd hope not. Paul Roos, we have a lot of respect for him. We know he's one of that kind of guys.
I'm probably going to cop it from the Melbourne fans here.
You
but
will? You will?
I'm calling it as I saw it. That accuracy was
I tell you one man that's definitely not.
absolutely horrendous.
I tell you one man that's definitely keeping away from the T word by putting in his absolute everything every single week
Dom
since
Tyson.
the day he was born. Nathan Jones.
Not Dom Tyson.
He's had another best on ground for Melbourne.
Yep.
He's just by far and above their best player in probably the history of their club. No, I'm kidding.
The Melbourne fans are just like hitting their laptops
I'm
at the
kidding, I'm
table
kidding.
right now.
I'm kidding,
Tom
no.
Swift was alright.
I'm kidding.
Jim
Melbourne
Stone
fans.
was alright.
But in the modern era,
Gary Lyon was
alright.
alright.
You know I'm kidding. You know I'm joking, Ricardo. I didn't mean that seriously. But in the past 5 years, Nathan Jones has been far and above their best player. Their most consistent. He had another 30 touches and a goal on the
Looked
weekend.
like a sneaky chance of the Brownlow earlier in the year.
He's a warrior. That's
Yeah.
what I think of when I look at Nathan Jones. Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Well, we say recruit of the year just about every week on this show, but Dom Tyson, he'd have to be up there.
Well, you mentioned that last week.
Dominic
I mentioned
Tyson.
it last week, I mentioned it the week before. He's been great for this football club.
Absolutely.
Especially on the weekend.
We said it earlier in the year. People laughed at the prospect of him being traded, pick 2, I think it was, and it's just shown. Yeah, it's worked.
Well, what he did was he essentially gave away a pick 2 for a pick 2 player.
Who's 2 to 3 years ahead
Who's
of his
already
dad.
had 2 or 3 years in the system to build himself up. So it was actually a very smart move if you think about it.
Anyway, as you were saying, Josh.
Melbourne has yet to topple 100 points this season. That tells me if they don't get their defensive game right, it's game over.
And Hawthorn love to...
Hawthorn love to attack.
I'm going to agree with Nick, and this is going to be a bloodbath.
Especially if Melbourne are trying to miss.
Yeah.
Boys, who are we going to tip? This has been an absolute train wreck of a preview
For Melbourne fans and
for Melbourne fans alone. But
We apologise. We call it as we see it. Some may
sorry,
agree.
but that's my genuine assessment
Nick
of the game.
Tyson, who are you going to tip?
Nick Geison's going to tip Hawthorn by... Jeez, I wrote down 52 points, but I changed my mind. I'm going to say 82 points.
All right.
82.
Ricard, you're going to go an enormous margin. I don't know what it is.
I think it'll be over by 100.
You think it'll be over 100?
Yeah.
All right.
I thought he might go 4 figures.
Yeah.
I'll pick a number. I'll go 118.
Wow. Okay. I think Hawthorn will get the job done by about probably 90 points.
I'm going to give a quick shout out to regular viewer CM Sean. I'm sorry. I know you watch the show every week, but
CM Shaw?
He watches the show every week.
Oh, thank you, CM.
he likes hearing a
Good to know
Melbourne.
you know our followers.
He likes hearing a
I
Melbourne
don't
tip.
use Twitter
but,
that much.
Sorry about this one.
Sorry, CM. I'm very appreciative of you. I'm just not that big on Twitter.
He might not enjoy that preview though. Port Adelaide versus Sydney. It's Saturday night at Adelaide Oval. Last time the two teams played, it was Sydney by just 4 points. Port Adelaide lost to Collingwood by 6 points on the weekend, boys.
I don't know what's happened to them.
It's a game they should have
Oh,
won.
it was an absolute... Oh, watching that game was just painful. It was painful. There was no run at all. It was just disgusting. For either side. Like, Collingwood had marginally more run, just a little bit more run.
Yeah.
And it looked like they had a lot, just because Port were not running. Matty Lobe got a free kick on the defensive 50. He's looked up. No one's running. They've shown you a good view of the entire field ahead of him.
Yeah.
No one's moving. They're all just standing there like a bunch of scarecrows, waiting for the ball to just be lobbed up towards them.
Well, one player that was very good was Hamish Hartlett. He kicked 4 goals, had 23 disposals,
Yep.
and after the game he said, me and my teammates need to stop playing like boys and start playing like men.
Probably some soul searching going on with the Port Adelaide Football Club at the moment. They look like a premiership contender. They've just had a really bad period.
Halfway through the year, they were 2 games clear on top.
Yep. One thing I want to mention about
Yeah,
Hamish
right.
Hartlett, which I told you boys during the week, there's nothing in our game I love more than seeing a midfielder or a halfback flanker just off a step.
Shoot one out the back.
Yeah, receiving the handball off a step or two and just from 55 metres just going bang. Hamish
Pinging
Hartlett.
it through.
There's not many who do it better than him. I reckon
Or Matty Suckling.
there's not many
Okay,
who do it
thank you.
better than
Good on
him. He
you.
does it very well.
Bo Waters.
Very exciting footballers.
Bo Waters, there's the weekly Bo Waters.
He does. He's an absolute legend. I love you, Bo.
Another player we mentioned in the preview last week, we said Justin Westhoff would be very important in all areas of the ground, and he was. I thought he was great through the midfield for them.
He's here for us tonight. He's not really.
Yeah. Our producer Justin Westhoff, as always.
I'm going to get sick of that one day.
Yeah.
But
I'm surprised we're still running.
Yeah, but look, Port Adelaide, they struggled to get it out of their back half. Like you mentioned, Hamish Hartley was probably one of the only good ones.
Yep.
Ollie Wines had a good game. He was up there with some of the best.
Had some shocking kicks, actually, but overall, I guess he played
Chad, the ones that stand out for me were one, Chad Wingard has had a really, really average 5 or 6 games.
Well, underwhelming season overall. And I think he showed with a few acts of frustration late in the game there as well.
I thought he was very lucky to escape sanction for pushing.
I'm not sure if it was trying to push him into the post, but it was an act of frustration. Definitely.
Look, he was I'm not going to get too critical of him at all because he's 21 years old.
Yeah.
And he's just a gem, to be honest. He's still a star of the game.
Well, he's still kicked about 30, 35 goals a year.
Oh, for sure. And, he's a 21-year-old, and he's only just turned 21.
And
so he's a 20-year-old for the majority
of the year. The problem
year.
here is after his season last year, which was absolutely exceptional, got it out in the end. Everyone's going, he's going to be a top 5 player in the competition and stuff. We've got those lofty expectations of him. We've just come to know those lofty expectations. And when he doesn't reach anywhere near those standards the following season,
people come down on him way too hard. Give the kid some time. He's still a very good player, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I think the other one as well is Joe Pollock. He was exceptional early in the year, and he's just fallen off the radar.
It's because they've started to get attention, isn't it? Wingard's starting to get manned much harder. He's no longer, he's just a, 19-year-old kid.
This team was the pinnacle for fitness.
It was.
They're not the fittest team anymore.
Oh, no.
Maybe they've run too hard earlier on in the year.
We will say there has been a bit of viral meningitis. It looks like go through the club. So
Jared Redden and John Butcher both hospitalised.
Absolutely. So it may get a little bit of slack, but still, they've lost only won 2 of their last 6. So
they've got some real soul searching to do, and they've got to get a win this week. On the other side of this coin, the Sydney Swans shot down your boys by 22 points.
I'm not sure shot down is the right word. I think held at arm's length is a better description.
They didn't play their best game of football.
Okay. I thought they were pretty good.
I felt they got a lead and they did enough to win.
I think that if Buddy played, you might have had to add a couple of more goals onto the winning margin. But I think Sydney's still got the job done. And, people are going to be critical of them for winning by 22 points. That's still a very comfortable win.
Yep.
And they got the job done very easily. Luke Parker was exceptional, and Ben McGlynn
Jeez,
again.
I love that kid, Luke Parker.
Yeah.
Ben McGlynn, that's 3 or 4 weeks in a row. I think he's been great.
And Luke Parker, we talk about Chad Wingard. How old's Luke Parker? 21.
Yep.
And he's doing it every single week, so he's an absolute star of the game.
Luke Parker, I don't go as far as this.
Really?
No.
Can I say he's a gun?
No, he's an elite footballer.
An elite footballer.
I'd agree.
I think he's one of the best. I'd agree. Yep.
He's one of the best contested mark midfielders in the game.
Yep.
He kicks goals and he knows how to find the ball. So
win the ball on the inside.
He's
or
an
the outside.
elite footballer. Yep.
The only thing I'd probably say is that his kicking efficiency could improve.
Yeah.
But then we say that about all the guns like Toby Green, Nathan Fife.
Yeah.
So, but he's an absolute star. Ben McGlynn, we talk about him every week.
Yeah.
Every week.
He was the difference for me on the weekend, to be honest, because he's quick, uses the ball very well, kicks goals, gets the ball, sets up his teammates, gets goal side.
Unselfish, yeah.
25 disposals and 2 goals.
How about his goal of the year contender?
Which one was that?
That was brilliant. He's running towards the boundary line. He's actually, Dermot Brandon had a field day on this one. But he's kicking from the right-hand side of the goals. The ball is curving away from the goals as it's heading towards them. He's actually made the angle harder for himself as he went through. It was an absolute... Definitely goal of the round for me.
Yeah.
Heath Grundy also, I think, is very underrated.
Yeah.
Probably
a great game.
Probably unlucky to miss out on the team of the round on the weekend.
Yep.
But he held the in-form forward in the competition, Jake Carlisle, to just one goal. What?
Sorry, it just sounds funny because he's been comical in the past.
No,
just hearing something like that, it just about
at one stage, if you'd said that, we would have probably thrown up with laughter. But you're right.
Well, we are throwing up with laughter.
No, Josh is right. At the point when Jake Carlisle walked onto the ground to play against Sydney,
he was the informed. Yeah.
So
it just sounds fun.
Yeah, and you're right. Heath Grundy did have it. Set it out for him. The work he had to cut out, but he did a very good job. How much did Carlisle end up kicking? 1 goal. So a tenth of what he kicked the week before.
Yeah. Correct. It is the Sydney preview.
A tenth, isn't it? He kicked 10 goals the week before. 8. I thought he kicked 10.
Jeez, Vinay's getting into too much credit. One thing we should consider when making the tip this week, I think we shouldn't play down the bout of sickness that's gone through the club. They're saying half the club is going to be kept separate this week. Yeah. It's going to really disrupt their training load going into what is a huge game. I'm not sure what to make of it, but I think it could be a big problem for them there.
Absolutely. It's come at the wrong time of the year, I'll tell you that much, because Port Adelaide need to win.
Yeah.
And as Hamish Hartlett said again, they'll be lucky if they play finals the way they're going.
Good call, boys. Who are we going to make a call on for the win?
Sydney. I can't tip Port Adelaide at the moment in the form they're in.
Yep.
How much are you going to tip them by?
Having only heard that news about Port Adelaide being separate, could be a real disruption to their training week. So I reckon Sydney might get it done quite comfortably by about 45.
Yep. Wow, it's a big margin. I think
still my tip.
I think Sydney, the Port Adelaide, they've got all sorts of problems. They've got stars not performing. They've got pathogens and diseases.
Pathogens.
Yeah, germs. They've got viral meningitis just roaming through their club. I think Sydney,
Encyclopedia Britannica.
I think Sydney will come wearing face masks to not catch anything. They'll get the job done and they'll fly off back home to Sydney. I'm tipping Sydney by about 30 points.
A bit harsh there, boys. I'm going to say Sydney by 32. I think otherwise, without this news, it could be a lot closer. But I've just got a feeling it's really going to disrupt them, as we said.
Yep.
Moving on, match of the round, if I don't mind saying myself, boys. Geelong versus Fremantle. It's third versus fourth.
St Kilda Bulldogs will be a pretty good one.
It's third versus fourth, Saturday night at Simmons Stadium. Last time these two teams played, it was Fremantle by 32 points. Geelong.
And that was a final, wasn't it?
Qualifying.
No, it wasn't.
Where was it as well?
That was in round.
It was at Simmons Stadium.
That was actually in round 9 this year at Patterson Stadium, but okay.
So they lost again. They've just lost the last couple of...
Fremantle have won.
Yeah, they did. Pavlich's 300, remember?
Oh, yeah, it was too.
Fremantle have won 3 of the last 4 between these two sides.
250th, was it? Yeah, it was 250th, not 300.
Geelong defeated North Melbourne by 32 points on the weekend, and I actually think... Okay. Are we going to get into this?
Sorry,
mate.
Go ahead.
32 points was the margin on the weekend. I think it was Geelong's best performance of the season. I think it was the closest to a 4-quarter effort that we've seen from Geelong this season. Mitch Duncan was great.
Every week I'm mentioning him. I'm getting sick of mentioning him.
Well, now I'm mentioning him. Yeah. He was exceptional. He's been one of the best all year long. I think he was the best on the weekend. I think he's taken the next step and he's now one of our elite midfielders, one of our best.
24 disposals and 3 goals.
Yep.
Joel Selwood is finding some form late, and it is some really deadly form because he had, I think, 30 actually. Didn't he have 30?
Yep.
He had 30 touches or something. He had plenty of tackles, took marks. He was getting clearances inside 50s.
Might have one eye on some silverware to hang around his neck at the end of the year. I don't know, boys.
Alan Christensen was also fantastic.
Yep.
I think he links in really well.
Yep. He was much better than Josh Caddy.
We'll get to that. Inside or outside Alan Christensen, he can play equally as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's been very similar to the Stephen Motlop situation where he's been such a vital player to the side last year. He's taken 3 or 4 weeks. It looked like an injury that could really disrupt his season. He missed half the year, did Alan Christensen. He's come in after 3 or 4 weeks. He's had one of his best games in a very long time. Certainly up there with the best. Josh Caddy, boys.
There it is.
He missed the caddy count in the last couple of weeks.
He has.
I think I've got it back on track now. Hopefully I remember to do it this week. Josh Caddy was absolutely brilliant. He's taken a look. He's gone Steve Johnson style from behind the boundary line. Absolutely brilliant goal.
What do you think, Josh? Your vote
contested work is great. He charges through the packs like an absolute bull. I love this kid so much. Josh Caddy,
you reckon?
Josh Caddy, brilliant game. And last player, boys, Jordan Murdoch. I've criticised this kid. I said a couple of weeks ago that he was the least exciting player regularly getting a game in the 22. Because he's got some poor decision making at times, some poor disposal. I thought he proved me wrong tenfold on the weekend because he was absolutely great.
Billy Smets had 31 touches on the weekend. Will he come into the side?
I hope not.
Why, you said
Mitch Brown had 4 goals, 3 on the weekend. Will he come into the side?
I hope not.
So Nick
Nick
has just looked at the Geelong VFL and gone, you guys can do whatever you want. You're not making my team yet.
This 22 that Geelong played on the weekend, it's toss a coin between Dawson Simpson and Hamish McIntosh for the ruck spot. That's the best 22 you'll see from Geelong this year.
Okay.
There's long-term injuries to Daniel Mengele and Nathan Vardy. There's no VFL player, regardless if Billy Smets keeps having... Jed Hughes would be a consideration for the Fremantle game because he's a lockdown small defender who can play in Hayden Ballantyne. But I don't see him being. It's his first. He plays first game against Fremantle round 9 this year, so probably a good time for him to come back inside. But I don't see him being a regular going into finals. I think the 22 we saw play against North Melbourne. Whether or not Hamish McIntosh is the better over Simpsons, that's up to you. But that's the side we'll see.
Moving on to the Purple Haze.
Yep.
Fremantle had a very average couple of weeks. They got done by St Kilda, and I mean done. And they almost got done by. They almost got pantsed by Carlton. But they managed to hang on with, literally probably their pinky finger.
Yep.
If it wasn't for the existence of Nathan Fyfe,
Beast mode he went into.
he literally just went into. He accessed some kind of new.
Hulk mode.
Hulk mode, yeah, exactly. So they've got it cut out for them. They've got to fly down to Geelong. Very tough road trip. Cats rarely lose there. They've got to get a lot of things right to beat the Cats.
I'll go as far as to say Nathan Fyfe's last quarter was the best quarter we've seen this year.
Okay. Probably, yeah.
Yep.
He's single-handedly...
Pierce Hanley, the one where he had 14 disposals and 600...
Well, it is the Fremantle Geelong preview, boys. But he's taken his game from an average to good game to one of the best performances of the round with one quarter. He's won the game almost single-handedly there.
Well, he's one of the best players. Some people think he is the best player in the AFL at the moment, which is not a far-fetched statement given that Adelaide's not playing currently. But you'd think that midfield of Freo's, Fyfe, Barlow, Mundy, would have to lift big time.
Yeah.
The one thing the Fremantle have got a chance now is because Stevie Johnson will not be playing, and I'm not saying that in the sense that Stevie J will be missing, which he will. But Stevie J would attract the Crowley tag.
Yeah, this could
which
be
is a shame because these two battle really hard and genuinely don't like each other.
Exactly.
Well, you can look at this two ways. You can look at the fact that Steve Johnson has had really negative performances in the past when copying the tag from Crowley. He's out of the side now. Maybe that could be a bad influence that they don't really need. But as you say, that could take the tag away from Selwood. That could take a potential tag away from a Christensen or a Motlop who's in great form. It's just one less player that Crowley could go to, and it could be a very, very big factor.
I think Crowley's a shoo-in to go to Selwood. Selwood's had some spectacular weeks.
Yep.
The last 2 or 3 games he's played have been really, really strong, and I think Crowley must go to him.
You always see sort of the secondary run with player doing sort of a semi-tag, you know, that now goes to the next best player. And
Crowley does very well on Selwood, mind you.
Yep.
He has really kept him quiet in the past, so that could block up Geelong's midfield.
Michael Barlow was also fantastic against Carlton. I thought
he
had a terrific full-quarter performance.
Always does.
Michael Walters is a slim chance of coming back this week.
If he does, then that'd be really, really interesting. Yeah.
Massive. He's a terrific talent. I'm not sure if you have a massive impact coming back.
He might not even start on the ground, to be honest.
Absolutely. But he's most likely going to come through the waffle.
Yep.
Matthew Pavlich loves playing Geelong.
But chance to miss this week.
Chance to miss with concussion.
Okay.
Early.
And it's the second incident he's had in recent weeks. Yep.
Second incident in the last 2 games. He had one against St Kilda as well. So he's in a little bit of doubt. Doctors after the game said he should be okay, but he's still got a few concussion tests to pass.
Interesting.
Who is the tip going to, boys? Which side of the box are you going to tick?
Fremantle have been really great against us recently. Coming down to Simmons Stadium, I think Geelong have hit their best form of the year. We beat them by 40 points there. I think it was last year, before the qualifying final, actually. Yeah. I think Geelong will get it done by 18 points in what will be a very, very good game of football.
I'm going to go Geelong, boys. They proved me wrong last week. I honestly thought North would pants them, but Geelong showed just how gutsy they can be when they really want to win.
Yeah.
And I think this week will be no different. They really do want to win. They really do want a top 2 spot. Whether Stevie J goes out will make that big a difference. We'll wait and see. But Geelong by about probably 14 points.
Yeah, Geelong for me as well. I only put Fremantle there to annoy Nick in the pre-show. So I was always going to tip Geelong, but just put it there to annoy him. But I think Geelong will just get it done by 9 points.
Yep.
Moving on to Brisbane versus Adelaide, Sunday afternoon at the Gabba. Last time these two teams played, it was Adelaide by 19 points, boys. I really want to get on to Adelaide, but we will start with Brisbane in that terrible game of football against Melbourne. 23 points. They did get the chocolates in the end.
Last time these two teams played, it was round 2 of last year.
Wow.
A little while ago.
Round 2 of last year. We are now on round, 20? Oh my goodness. So that is a good, almost like 38 games that they have not played each other for.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's very impressive. But
speaking of broken record, boys, there's 3 players who are great for Brisbane once again. Pierce Hanley.
Can I guess them?
Okay, guess them.
Pierce Hanley.
Yep.
Tom Rockcliffe. Yes.
Yep.
And Dane Zorko.
No.
Zorko underperformed this week.
Not
didn't
the
he?
one I was going to mention.
Zorko was awful this
That
week.
guy.
Stephen Martin.
Oh, yes, he's been in. We haven't mentioned him that much in recent weeks.
Yes, we have.
We have?
Well, it's funny. Had he
Not
played,
sure what show I've been going to, but yep.
had he been playing, would he be all Australian ruckman? Had he been playing all year, I should say.
Probably the fourth week we've discussed
Possibly.
this.
I think his hit out sort of numbers need to be a bit higher. But around the ground, he has got to be the best ruckman in the AFL right now. He's obviously the lone ruckman for Richmond. And
Richmond.
Justin Martin, is he?
Brisbane Lions. Matty Leuenberger, he's actually been playing in the twos for quite a while now.
Yep.
So Brisbane have clearly made the decision to keep him there for the rest of the year.
Why wouldn't you?
So he's literally holding Leuenberger.
I don't think he's holding him out so much as Brisbane feel that it's very convenient for them that Stephen Martin is playing so well. It's more or less they're in a situation that this guy's come back from a serious knee injury.
Yeah, there's no reason to risk him.
We're not going to make finals. We may as well play this kid who's doing a really good job. So he's been exceptional. Hanley and Rockcliffe both got tags. Hanley was quieter, but Rockcliffe, tag him all you like, Josh. It's not going to work.
Well, Brisbane have won their last two and playing some terrific football.
Yeah.
In patches, I should say.
3 of their last 5 they've won.
3 of the last 5. They won ugly, which is a positive thing, which is what Justin Leppich said on yesterday in his press conference.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing to see they're playing ordinary football.
But even Justin Leppich in the press conference says it's the worst game of football he's ever seen.
Yeah.
So,
It was an ordinary game.
before we move on to the Crows, Michael Close I wanted to give a mention to. Took some great marks up forward.
Brownie Jr.
Yep. They really do need some tall targets down there. Daniel Merritt is not such a tall... is not the tall target they need.
He's not a target at all.
He's not a target. Do not kick it to Daniel Merritt.
To Daniel Merritt.
Daniel McStay also kicked 3 goals.
McStay was great as well.
He's been playing as a defender. He was throwing forward, took a couple of good marks.
I think with that kind of form, he'll be McStaying in the side.
Oh, dun. Quick mention
it.
before we move on to Adelaide. Darcy Gardner, the little prick, I think Jay Carlisle called him.
Okay.
The little prick.
Oh, you did
The
call
little
him.
prick, yes. When Carlisle wasn't going too well, is the round 19 NAB Rising Star.
So
Just signed a new 2-year deal, so well done to him.
he's pricked his way up to the rising star.
Moving,
Adelaide.
moving on to Adelaide, who lost to West Coast by 31 points.
I love
Have they
watching
self-destructed, or has West Coast outplayed them?
I watched this game and I loved it. Adelaide, for that first 10 minutes, I was this close to switching off.
Just be careful we focus on Adelaide here.
Let's be honest, I wasn't.
Okay.
For the first 10 minutes, they were all over them. They had excellent run. Brodie Smith was already seeming to look like he was going to end up with 30 touches.
Like he does pretty much everywhere.
Tex Walker kicked the first goal and looked like he was going to have a party.
Yeah.
They kicked the first goal within the first 30 seconds, to tell you something. And then they kicked 4 goals unanswered very, very quickly.
They let
and
it...
out of nowhere, West Coast, like a sleeping giant, they let them come right back into the game.
They led it 3/4 time still, Adelaide. It just became a shootout after that.
Correct. West Coast killed them in that last term. And it's interesting because Adelaide kicked the first goal of the last quarter as well.
Yeah.
And then they just got absolutely destroyed. And I think Adelaide, they got outrun. Whether that had something to do with the 6-day break from the week before, West Coast did have the week off.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. It was just Adelaide that had a 6-day break.
Yeah.
So I think that may have had a thing to play. But to me, it was more that they rocked up and they didn't show much respect to their opponent.
Yeah.
Once they kicked the 4 goals, it was clear that they thought that they were just going to get away with it.
I just struggle to see our side with so much on the line who have, they've done such a great victory over Collingwood last week to earn that spot in 8th. They need to consolidate that with a victory the next week. Would they be 7th this week if they had won? 6th they'd be this week if they had won. That's a home final all of a sudden.
That's exactly what I was,
And then they lead it 3/4 time. I just cannot believe that they, after kicking the first goal of the last quarter as well, that they will lose by 5 goals.
One thing I didn't really understand is they saw off all the difficult sides. They beat Port Adelaide. They beat Collingwood away.
Yeah.
So they got through all the tough stuff. All of a sudden, they've got West Coast at home. Then they've got Brisbane. Got some easy games coming up.
This is one of my certainties of the round.
Yeah, and they let it slip against the struggling West Coast, who literally had about 4 team changes. So
I'll tell you what, it was good to see 36 goals kicked in the game, by the way. So
that was
an
great.
absolute great game. Brad Crouch was one of the only shining lights.
30 disposals, 2 goals. He's going to be an absolute gun.
Oh, unbelievable.
In fact, it's funny. These teams have
7
played
tackles.
These teams have played in polar opposite games. One of the best games of football of the season and the worst game of this football.
Yeah, absolutely.
Up at the Gabba, will Adelaide make the same mistake 2 weeks in a row?
No, they cannot afford to. They were so angry and disappointed that they lost this game.
That is a very good point.
They're going to come out absolutely firing at this game. So Brisbane will challenge them, but Adelaide will come away with the points by 14.
I agree with you. Josh, Adelaide by about 14 for me as well.
Yeah, I've lost it. Adelaide by 17 points. They, once again, they could be as high as 6th if results fall their way this week and they get the win. So
boys,
for them.
We've got an interesting game coming up now.
St Kilda versus the Western Bulldogs. Big crowd at this one. Sunday afternoon at Etihad Stadium.
Settle.
Last time,
we're only kidding, St Kilda.
Last time those two teams met, it was the Dogs by 9 points. We'll start with St Kilda, who we've talked about earlier. They lost to Gold Coast by 53 points. Lenny Hayes
finishing off his career in
4 games of football left. Finishing off his career in style. We gave him the 1 vote this week.
24 disposals, 6 marks and 9 tackles.
9 tackles.
He's going out. I think he's got 18 tackles in 4 games to get to break the
all-time.
No. He's got 38 tackles.
No, that was a couple of weeks
ago. So he's got 18 in 4.
Yeah.
That is, he's got.
What's his career average per game? It's probably 7 or 8 or something ridiculous.
It's interesting because when he was meant to get 38 off 6, wasn't he?
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, which seems difficult. That's about 7 tackles a game.
Yeah.
He's got it locked up now, and you would not want it to go to a better player.
Put your
He's
hands
an
on the
absolute
boys.
legend. Yeah.
So St Kilda against the Gold Coast, they were in the game to half time.
Yeah, disappointing really, but not to be unexpected, I guess, because we throw that young tag out there. They are a very young side.
Yep.
I mean, there was one young player. I feel pretty sorry for the kid, but
Brody Murdoch.
Brody Murdoch had 2 frees against. No disposals, no nothing.
And then you got some
no likes, no tackles.
No nothing.
Have the red vest, Brody.
He had
Take
2
a seat.
frees against.
And he got stuck in the elevator before the game.
He did. He got stuck in an elevator before game. The poor kids had a horrific
I think
day.
he's probably had the worst day of his life.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I tell you what, the Murdoch family, those 2 brothers have had polar opposite days.
Brothers.
You didn't know they were brothers?
Brody Murdoch and Jordan Murdoch are brothers, aren't they?
Didn't know they were brothers.
Mum Julie Murdoch comments on my page all the time.
Oh, there's a cool little
Oh,
clip.
baby. You know he.
Moving on to the Western Bulldogs, they lost to Hawthorn by 62 points. Both teams got flogged this week.
Yeah, absolutely. They were shown up by the Hawks in Tasmania.
Yep. Just beaten by the better team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no shame in losing to Hawthorn and the way they're going at the moment. So, probably did well to hold them back in the end. I mean, they kicked 4 goals in the first 6 minutes, I think it was, Hawthorn. So, to hold them to 10 goals is, I guess, respectable.
Using the word very loosely.
Yeah, look, very loosely.
There was a period where the Western Bulldogs were hammering them with inside 50s. A very small period, but they had plenty of inside 50s for almost no score.
Yeah.
And it was unbelievable to watch because the Western Bulldogs would have about 6 inside 50s, and get maybe a behind. Hawthorn would go forward once, gold.
Yeah.
So it was just really, if you're a Bulldog supporter, it would be something that you'd rip your hair out to watching.
Yeah.
Same with St Kilda, that wasted opportunities. Nick Rewalt finished with 1-3, and some of those goals were very kickable by his standards.
One player I did want to mention for the Dogs, just had to jog my memory there, is Bob Murphy. Had his career high 32 disposals.
It was
great
exceptional off halfback.
The Dogs,
Team of the round this week. Yeah, you fit it slotted in the back pocket there. So,
guys, who are we tipping?
Who do we think at the Etihad Stadium?
The Doggies still lacking something down forward.
The Wolves?
They desperately need a tall forward and stick with them.
Stuart Crummy, a lot of them are unhappy about him being played off a wing now.
Yeah.
Still not playing down forward.
Yep.
Kicked 1 goal.
Yep.
Doesn't sound like a tip to me, boys.
Western Bulldogs by 21.
I will say the Western Bulldogs by 21.
I actually think this will be really, really close.
No, I'm
boys.
kidding. I'm Western Bulldogs by about 20, yes.
20?
Yeah.
I think it'll be a close game. Western Bulldogs might just get the chocolates in the end. They'll win by 22 points.
Oh, stop saying it'll be a close game.
No.
And then...
Do you want me to give a different tip?
West Coast v
22
Collingwood.
points. West Coast versus Collingwood, Sunday afternoon at Patterson Stadium. A game can be close and finish.
Last week you said it would be a
West
close
Coast
game.
v Collingwood.
Last time
by
these
40 points.
No, I did 30. Last time these two teams played, it was the Pies by 8 points. Collingwood have won the last 3 encounters between these two teams. West Coast May, that last quarter was exceptional. King Kennedy did well.
King Kennedy. I was standing in front of my TV and bowing and just getting up and then getting down and bowing again to his
Probably
greatness.
was. Not the kind of like he is.
It was a majestic royal performance from King Kennedy. Daniel Talia, it didn't matter to me that Daniel Talia went off, to be honest, because he already had 2 goals when Daniel Talia was on. And the one thing I noticed about him was he's taking contested marks again.
Yeah.
All year he has struggled to take big contested grabs, and there was one where he took it right in the goal square with about 5 guys around him.
Yep.
It was beautiful to watch. So he was excellent, and I want to see more of that from him. He kicked 5-4, so he could have had much bigger tally. Luke Shuey got tagged the entire game and still had 31 disposals.
Yep.
Which is beautiful to watch because you know that he struggled with tags in the past.
Andrew Gaff, exceptional.
Oh,
also struggled with tags in the past.
He has. He got a tag as well. Rory Ladd moved to him in the 3rd quarter, and he still managed to end up with 31 disposals and 3 goals. his gut running is unequaled in the AFL. I'll go that far. He just runs his opponent off the ground every single week, and he's working harder and harder, and now he's starting to learn how to break the tag.
I think, going back to Josh Kennedy for a sec before I ask you a question on the Eagles, I think him and Nick Riewoldt are the two best lead-up forwards in the competition.
Yep, I agree with you. Yeah. Josh Kennedy's he's a big guy, but he's also kind of skinny if you look at him.
Yeah.
So he's able to move very quickly. He's sort of bulky.
Yeah,
he's got a big frame.
He's a muscly guy.
Pretty skinny kind of guy still, but so he moves very, very fluently. He's very mobile as well. And
he's big in the chest.
He is, yeah. But you look at his arms and his legs, and he looks like a pretty skinny customer. But he moves very quickly, and his hands have just gotten better and better as well.
Before we get on to Collingwood, a question for you: how important was Jeremy McGovern and Shannon Hearn on the weekend?
Banger.
Big banger.
Big banger. Hey, did you see that 70-metre drop punt?
Yes, I did. From the goal.
Josh asked me before the show, which one do you want to talk about? And I said, I want to talk about both, Josh.
I jumped off my roof in happiness. That's how happy I was when I saw that goal.
Do you have a TV on your roof, do you?
No, I climbed out, got a ladder, went up there. And
just imagining Vinay like hanging onto the antenna in his underwear, just watching his big flat screen on the roof.
No, don't give me the image.
Eating his cereal or something.
Shannon was supreme. He made the team of the round, I think. I hope. Yes, he did. Yep. He was an absolute superstar. He set up off half
intercept marks.
He got the tag in the second half, but he was brilliant. He's kicking. There is one where he's running across the wing towards the pocket, and he jags a kick back in towards centre half forward, and it hits Kennedy between the eyes. It was
you got an adjective?
Motion.
Have you got an adjective?
Jeremy McGovern was also very, very good. The Gov played in defence this week, Josh.
He did.
The Governor played in defence.
24 disposals.
And 6 marks. 6 marks. 3 of those were contested. So you can put him anywhere on the ground, he'll do well. And I think he's a rock back there.
It's going to be a player, this kid.
The run he provided was spectacular. One thing I quickly want to say, Adam Simpson, the reason they played this well is because Adam Simpson has told them to play a risky brand of footy. Yep. He says, take the game on, don't worry about the result. And for those of you thinking that we all think we're going to make finals, no, Simpson has said that is not even on the cards. That's not even being considered. It's just about playing the best team every week.
It's not doable, Josh. It's not going to happen.
It is mathematically doable.
Adam Simpson says it, Vinay says it, they're not playing finals. Who are we tipping in this game?
We're not going to talk about Collingwood?
Are we talking about Collingwood? No. I think we can just skip him.
No, we can't.
Collingwood, they defeated Port Adelaide by 6 points.
Yeah, Dane Beams is absolutely extraordinary. He's had a couple of poor weeks. He gathered 32 disposals and kicked 2 goals. He was absolutely phenomenal on the weekend.
I definitely agree with you, Dane. Sorry about that. I was just swallowing at the same time.
Sorry, I wasn't aware of that.
But Dane Beamsley was exceptional, you're right. He's been exceptional for a couple of weeks now.
No, he hasn't.
Yes, he has. He was brilliant last week.
He was pretty poor, really.
He was absolutely exceptional last week. Go up and look at his stats last week. He was absolutely brilliant.
Continue. Side bottom, great as well.
Dane Beams has been very, very good. He tackles very well. I think he had 7 tackles, 8 clearances, couple of goals. He's a very, very damaging player.
Yeah.
Beams had 29 and 2 goals last week. Josh.
There you go. So apparently he was bad, Josh.
Apparently the month before.
So he's a superstar of the game, and when Pendlebury gets that tag, he just runs loose, and along with side buttocks, he's a very good player.
Side buttocks.
Side buttocks I thought was great as well.
Taylor Adams had one of his best games for the Magpies.
He's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, unfortunately he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. With a finger injury, it seems so... what's the word I'm looking for?
What did you say?
It seems so innocuous.
Innocuous, okay, that's a good one. Yep.
That a finger injury can keep you out for that long. So.
Sorry, I'd be on for Mad Monday for half of that period anyway. So
Stiff. Jake Frost, unsung hero.
Oh yes,
I feel.
Yeah, he was brilliant, wasn't he? He kept Jay Schultz to
1 goal.
Oh my
had a bit of help from Lockie Keefe, but still did his job. He's had his bad games this year. But has also had some incredibly
good come from the wilderness this year. Snow on his head has Frosty. That was terrible. No, but I think he's been absolutely great. He wasn't really one of the players touted to come out and have a huge impact this year.
I was speaking to a Collingwood supporter, and he's saying that Dane Swan could be back this week.
Okay. Yep, very, very good chance.
Yep, so wouldn't that just be a good inclusion?
Well, Swan for Adams, that seems pretty good.
Pretty good straight Swan, yeah.
And just before we give the tips, I saw some great last line defensive efforts on the weekend. Saved 2 or 3 goals, which in the end could have been the difference there. Just things you'd expect other players to let through, and they've just done that Heath Shaw smother style stuff on the goal line, which was brilliant.
They were desperate. They're desperate now, aren't they, the Maybes?
Yeah. They're in the top 8, so they're looking to start.
Are they desperate enough?
Boys, they've got to hold out a keen West Coast this week. Who do we think will win at the Petersons? Last time West Coast came close at the MCG. And this time it's down at the Petersons.
I'd say you could just about flip a coin for this game. I'm going to say Collingwood by a point. That's only because there's more on the line for them.
Yep.
Even at Patterson Stadium, that's who I'll go with. Subject to teams.
Generally travel pretty well to Collingwood, so I'll be tipping them by about 3 goals.
All right. I think Collingwood will get it done, boys. If I'm wrong, I'll be very happy because I'm blown out of the water in this tipping comp anyway. But I think Collingwood will win, I think they've got a lot more on the line, and West Coast just haven't shown enough consistency for us to tip them confidently. So Collingwood by about 15 points for me.
Brings us to the end of another episode of Beyond the Boundary. Thanks very much for tuning in.
Boys, I've been well off my game. I missed Tom Jonas and Jasper Pittard play their 50th game this week, so
Jasper.
I missed that one. And also, I forgot to mention in the Melbourne preview, Shannon Burns announced his retirement during the week.
Oh, yep.
Former Cats player, two
premierships, yep. Great
2 night premierships as well. So
Rory Thompson.
No, I got him.
Oh, okay.
So relax. But
anyway, boys, our Twitter handles at BTB AFL. Send in your tweets, suggestions for what you want us to discuss on news and views, feedback on the show, whatever.
And make sure you watch news and views.
Make sure you watch news and views. There's a link to that at the end. At Guyson, at JRico91, at VKLax. Josh, what's that above your head?
btbafl@live.com.au.
What about over
I'm very lonely. Send me an email. Have a chat to me.
Tell us what you have for dinner. Anything.
Maybe not
subscribe.
That, but okay.
Subscribe button, top right hand corner. Thanks to our producer Justin Westhoff as always. He is a great help, great game.
Valiant. They're constantly setting us up with great things, and they are the best partner you could ever have.
Brilliant.
What happens if you hit the like button?
I tell you what,
we'll be pretty happy.
We will be very happy, but that like button, it actually takes seconds to like, Josh.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll tell you how quick it is. It'll take you less effort to hit that like button than Nick's hairdresser puts into his hairdo there every week. So that's how little effort it will take for you to hit that like button.
Tell you what, that's not a lot of effort,
Make sure you do it. And what do you know? Maybe Hayden Ballantyne will get himself suspended to deliberately resting.
Yes. Anyway, boys, we'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Go Eagles.